Hey everybody, Brian Matson here with 26 Digital. We've got kind of a fun conversation for you today. We're talking to Andy and Nick Baleen from My Playground. We'll introduce them in just a little bit, but today's conversation was a really good one. We're talking vertical video, we're talking Reels, Shorts, and TikTok. We're going to talk best practices. We're going to talk about why vertical video is all the rage. And most importantly, we're going to give you tips on getting started and establishing your own presence using vertical video across your digital marketing efforts. Let's dive right into the conversation now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the chat. We're talking to My Playground. Nick and Andy are with us. Either one of you want to give us a little introduction to My Playground?
Absolutely, I'll do it because this is a company that Andy and I have started and ran together. But before it was an official company, it was a passion project between him and I because we grew up in the UP and we always used Michigan as a giant playground. And so the play on words, My Playground, Michigan Playground, that whole thing started because we wanted to show how we went out and used Michigan as a giant playground. And what does that mean for us is that it's not necessarily that we were the best at any one thing that we did. Like people wouldn't say we're the best snowboarders in the world or the best paddle boarders in the world, but we love doing it. And we wanted to show that with that kind of passion, you can share and experience Michigan better.
When did you start?
Andy, hit those numbers.
Yeah, so we started doing this at the end of 2019. So I guess that would be, a little over, just around 3 years right now.
So was vertical video like a big player at the time when you started, or have you seen like vertical video take over recently? Because I know you used to do a lot of like traditional format stuff before.
Yeah, I mean, really, when we first started making video, vertical was still at that time was close to almost still being the you shouldn't film that way type of thing. And then
Totally.
it's changed quickly because as we got into early 2020, when TikTok really blew up, kind of at the same time as COVID, and everyone started using it, that's when we really started being like, oh, vertical video is going to be more important. And at that time, there wasn't Reels, and you almost never would post a video vertical on Facebook because it would have just like put the black boxes on both sides of it. So it's been a newer thing over, now I guess 3 years.
Yeah,
So,
Dave, that kind of rolls right into our first question.
yeah. So you started this process and you start developing the vertical video and then TikTok starts to become very popular. So tell us about some best practices in just initially in TikTok. If you're going out and starting your TikTok account today and you were trying to develop good video, good structure, good fundamentals, what are maybe the 3 to 5 things that people should know right when they kick off and start?
Number one, I would say definitely start. Start somewhere, and the place that I always tell people to start with putting some sort of voice out there. So it needs to be somebody's personality, is what I like to say. I like to think of it as a personality-driven platform, and I always say when we say TikTok, we mean Reels, we mean TikTok, we mean YouTube Shorts, we mean anybody that's playing the vertical video game based on interest. And that's what happened across all of the platforms because they're all following it now. So just moving forward, when I say TikTok, I mean it across all platforms because for the most part, some of these best practices kind of translate. So even if you don't like TikTok at all, but you love Reels, that's what we're talking about today. So it'll still be valuable.
So kind of
So
off of that, Nick, where are we at here when you're talking about, okay, we're talking TikToks, we're talking Reels, we're talking Shorts, we're talking all this. Can you just share that content from platform to platform with no ramifications? Or should we be thinking about custom content per network? I think that's a really important topic.
you definitely should be thinking about custom content per network, especially if you're going to be recording in-app. It seems to help in-app if you're in the moment recording in there. But if you're making stuff like we do quite a bit, where you're going to batch out some of the content in a vertical format, and then you're going to put it across platforms, captioning can help customize it a little bit. Cutting them longer or shorter inside of those videos can help a little bit, or even doing a new voiceover for each one over top of it in each platform. Those are the ways that you can kind of make them different, where you're not sitting there going, oh, I have to come up with a new concept for TikTok. Now I have to come up with a new concept for YouTube Shorts. It's a way to do it that way.
So off of that, like what tools are you using to like create these outside of the apps? Because I think most people are making their TikToks in TikTok Reels in Reels. So what tools are out there? Is iMovie still viable for something like that?
Well, I'm going to say that it absolutely is. I don't know what it has for turning it vertical right away, but I would say that if that's already overwhelming for people, just grab your phone and go and get Premiere Rush, because it can take any horizontal video and turn it into a vertical video with a tap of a button, and you can even make adjustments inside of it to make sure that it's framed properly. And we are actually out filming quite a bit. We're at about 50-50 now for shooting horizontal or vertical, but I would never want to not use a shot that I want to use because of its formatting. And Premiere Rush allows me to film with my phone and then make a TikTok with cuts, with voiceover, with some basic editing, and I never have to leave my phone, which is one of the biggest things. I will sit and make a longer form content for YouTube and Facebook, and I do that in Final Cut, which is, the bumped up version of iMovie. And
Mhm.
Right.
that's what I edit my longer form videos in. But I find myself using this more and more. And as soon as it's done, I get it out and go, because there is a little bit to do with like in the moment. Like if you see something that's happening now and people can relate to it, and we can sit and talk about how technical it works or how it works emotionally in the moment, you're gonna win. You know, that's where we're seeing the most benefit. So even if it's a raw video, but if you're showing something that couldn't otherwise be shown if it didn't make sense in context, you're gonna lose that way. So you're gonna win if you can be there, post, and show things that are happening relatively in the moment.
I haven't heard of Premiere Rush. Is that a paid tool?
Right. That was my question.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, it is. There is a mobile version of Premiere, which is an Adobe product, and just like with all Adobe products, it's paid to use. But out of all of them, I think that you can buy like mobile first packages through them now, and I don't know all the pricing and stuff. But if you're serious about it and you want to clip, cut, and go, I haven't found one that's better yet. So that's where I'm at. There's like probably 25 different mobile video editors, but that one for me is the best.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can take our. Oh, go ahead.
Good. Sorry. We got two tools that we need to remember: Premiere Rush and Final Cut. Okay, so they're two things you need in your toolbox right away. Sorry, Andy,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then we do use a few others depending on the equipment we're using. Like the new GoPro Hero 11 actually can take a clip for you and right from your video that you recorded and turn it into a vertical video and put it right into their program, which is called Quick, and it delivers you a vertical video ready to go. Obviously, if you want to put a voiceover and other stuff over top of it, you can do that. And we pay for the GoPro subscription service too, and so that comes with all of that video editing software is included. And it's very reasonable for like a full year subscription. And so if you want to film with like a GoPro versus a phone, you get that editing app as well.
And so what I'm hearing is now we've got a lot of tools that are trying to, or that are making things a little bit easier for us, being able to convert the videos from horizontal to vertical, or if you do a horizontal, you could easily move it to vertical, and et cetera, right? So we have a lot of things that could make this application a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, and by
Little less.
yeah, by ease, if you really want to just get right into it, the in-app things that TikTok has, their video editor in-app is the best out of all of them. So if you don't want to buy, you don't want to subscribe, you don't want to do that kind of stuff, use their in-app video editor, and it'll actually teach you a little bit about what video editing looks like inside of it. It's very intuitive, and you're going to get some pretty cool stuff just with that one.
Right.
I would say the big thing with editing and TikTok though, and Brian, to your question about across apps. So if we make a video in TikTok and then we only make it there and upload it. It kind of lives in that spot unless you download it with the watermark. And we don't post. I mean, first off, Meta says, hey, don't post with other people's watermarks. We won't give you as much reach. I don't know if that's actually happening because I see stuff on Reels all the time with the TikTok watermark, but they say that you shouldn't do it. And we just aesthetically, when you download it, you're losing video quality, all sorts of reasons we don't like to do it. But that's one of the things to think about. So if you use actually like TikTok as your editing platform, that's going to kind of cause you a little bit of issue when you're trying to maybe go post that on Reels or on Shorts or somewhere else, where we want to sometimes, if you go to our channels and you ask, does everything go across all channels? We definitely post more that is only on TikTok than is anywhere else. So we're posting stuff on TikTok that will never hit our Reels or never hit our Shorts. As of right now. So that's some of that stuff that's getting edited in app, some in the moment type of things, something that we just think would play well on TikTok and not necessarily on some of the other platforms.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think you brought up a really good point about using captions to differentiate the different pieces of content from network to network. Because I know a lot of people really struggle with editing, just simple as it is, right? So that's a really good tip right there for sure.
And we started this and we kind of circled around, but let's circle back to the fundamentals. And the first thing you talked about was having a personality, having a face to the video. That was one of our questions, the questions we get a lot. Do I have to be on camera, right? So you're saying humanization is extremely important in this process.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've been telling people that are wanting to get into it is lean into your strength. So if you can do this, if being on camera is something that you enjoy, then do it. If it's something that you aspire to, then start. That's one of the most important things is it's a tool that you can learn and get better at is being on camera and speaking. But if that is so intimidating to you and you're like, I just like to write my blogs and leave, well, then you can take those blogs and you can read those as a voiceover and your voice can be your personality. And so you might have 5 years of backlog TikToks ready to go with the scripts already written. And all you need is a couple clips that would be somewhat relative to the thing that you're talking about. And boom, you have TikToks for a couple of years already made for you. Because
So it really comes down to formula, right? What formula kind of works for you, or a recipe, if you will, of like the format of content that you can create. I can speak from experience of like doing coaching calls with TikTok, and it's like you kind of know right away, right off the bat, whether this is a TikTok creative person or not. Like I've kind of been in the camp to it's like you can't teach somebody to make good TikToks if they don't just have that kind of personality or that skill set. But again, you're kind of proving me wrong here on that, because our clients especially are sitting on boatloads of content that they could start leveraging through some of the narration tools to help humanize it in a, not my face on camera kind of approach. I love that.
Yeah, and there's I can't think of her name right now, but there's a lady who only sits with her eyes and she talks about geology across the Great Lakes, Spooky Lake Month. I was so addicted to it.
Yeah,
And
I've
she
seen.
only had her eyes here. And she said she started it so that she could show more above her, but then she realized that it was like a tool that she used, and that became her calling card, was that you only
That's
saw
her
this.
shtick.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've had that discussion a lot about having a stick or some sort of brand or differential that you start with, and it's no different than doing anything else, right? You have to start with that differential and then take that differential and carry it through and make people familiar with it, and then build the brand from there.
Well, let's lean into that about some of the fundamentals, because that was the original question, is start something and do it 100 times. And that might sound intimidating to begin with, but if you're concentrating and doing the same thing over and over again, and by same thing, I mean, you might cover only food, but you're like, man, that's such a big thing to cover. No, we're going to cover just appetizers. So the nice thing is, if you like to go out to eat and your responsibility is to go and make these TikToks, every time you order that appetizer, all you got to do is get 10 seconds of footage of it, and then you can talk about it. well, then you're going to start backlogging the footage, and then you're going to be able to compare the two of them. So you're going to say, we had this one here and this one here, and I like this one because of XYZ, and I like this one because it's got a, creamy base, or whatever you're going to say about it. One of the things that I've been doing with, I've been using my dog, Edna, who's sleeping next to me. So if you can hear her snoring, sorry. What I've been doing with her is I've been saying, can I spend less than 1 minute a day and make a TikTok with her that I literally spend less than 1 minute a day creating the entire thing. And what I've boiled it down to is I grab a cookie and I walk it over to her and I hand it to her and she eats it. And so far she's at 33,000 followers by just walking and handing a dog a cookie. And I do that every day. And what I've realized is if I take 5 steps before I hand it to her, people don't like it. If I walk with a cookie that has a face on it, like a gingerbread man, people like it. If she takes the cookie and walks away, people don't like it. So there's a whole thing, but it doesn't matter. I do the same thing every day, and I am adjusting by how many steps I take before I hand the dog the cookie, and that will influence whether it gets 2,000 views or legitimately with some of these 1.5 million views.
Right? Is it just about views, Nick, or is it percentage viewed? Like what are some of the other metrics that you're looking at here? And like length and duration, and are there sweet spots? What are you seeing?
Yeah. So we're talking TikTok here, but some of this is going to across platform. But TikTok specifically, the viewed all the way through is going to help you. What I've figured out is get shown to your audience quite a bit. But if you have people interacting, commenting, and if you look at that share, if you have a share over, like if you have a good percentage of shares based on views, that one's going to send it to the For You page. And I think the thought process with me is if people want to show people it, not just consume it, then that must mean that this is ready to be seen by people who don't follow you. So
Right.
that's my theory. And then the secret to viewing, if it's over 7 seconds, it changes a little bit because completion rate changes based on their metrics, from what I understand. And if it's over 58% viewed, I've always seen it quadruple, 10 time, 100 time fold viewed, rather than if it's 57%. That one has been the secret for me. And again, these are purely observations, running 4 or 5 TikToks right now, and seeing what I see from those ones.
Yeah, we love that share indicator. I mean, that tells us that the right content got in the hands of the right person, and they have other friends and family and colleagues that would appreciate it, and they push that off. And it's it's all part of the becoming in that viral push, right? But that share, I think, is a first indicator that there's great potential. And so to me, that's almost like a live experiment too, right? Like you're getting immediate feedback on what you're doing. Like you said, you're going back and analyzing those steps you took to the dog to give her the treat. And
Yep.
as you took less steps, you've got better engagement. And I think this is one of those things that the greatest thing about technology is we have the ability to take that feedback immediately, right? And then make adjustments on that. And I just wish that more and more people would be aware of that and do more of that, because that's your key to success, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the, talking about the fundamentals here is I always like to say, give yourself a chance. You see some creators, whether it's just a content creator or a business, that will post so many times, and they'll do multiple versions, multiple voiceovers. But if you're not giving yourself a chance, you're never going to get that one that starts to do what you want it to do. So a couple weeks ago, Nick made 2 different versions of a TikTok, with the video but different voiceover and just a few different clips, but essentially a very similar piece. He posted the first one, and I don't know what happened. I called him. I'm like, wait, it's like an error or something. It has 20 views 3 hours after posting it. That's never happened, even when we had no followers. So then he was like, I'm going to make another voiceover version of it. And he posted it. And that one started off really hot. It got up like 50,000 views in a couple hours. Well, then the other one that had 20 views went crazy and now is just under 1 million views. But they're both climbing together. One's at like 200 and one's at 950,000. And they're similar content, but different enough that they sat next to each other. And we gave ourselves the chance, as I like to say it. Like the one, we're like, I don't know what happened to this one, but this was cool content. So let's make it in a little bit different way and post it again 4 hours later. And then they both kind of rose together at that time. But I always think if you have a page, and whether you're talking the travel industry or if you're a brand, and you start and you're like, we're going in on TikTok, and then you post like 5 times in 5 days or 30 times in 30 days, and then that intern is done for the season or whatever the reasoning may be, someone's true responsibility was not to control those platforms. It just falls off, and then when you try to start it back up again, like you're in, like, we call it like the TikTok jail. You can't take those big breaks.
So you're saying consistency is probably one of the number one fundamentals also, or another fundamental that's a key point.
I would say absolutely, yeah. We definitely believe in the consistency. There's sometimes where we might post a few in one day and then not a day, but we try to stay consistent on TikTok for sure.
Gotcha. So one question I have that just kind of popped in my head during this conversation. So like we work mostly with destinations, right? And they're really diverse offerings. So there's dining, outdoors, entertainment, music, all these things. I find it really challenging. I almost feel like the channels become schizophrenic and it's hard to like latch onto an audience because you're trying to talk about so many things. And it seems like the TikToks that I see be successful are ones that are super focused on a niche or like even a micro niche, even at that. So do you have any thoughts on that kind of idea?
Yeah, you can definitely get a little bit out there, and it feels like there wouldn't be a reason for someone to follow along. And so you just have to ask yourself, why would somebody follow along with what we're doing? And that's what I mean, is it follows along. It feels like each single TikTok should be some sort of complete thought, but it should be connected to a larger thought. So if you're going to connect it, it can be a very vague way in which it's connected. Like everyone could start with, let's take a downtown walk. Well, you can go shopping, you can go to the store, you can go to the downtown bike shop, you can go so it can be connected in a way that way. Let's take a downtown walk, and then you say, oh, we did XYZ. But if you're jumping all over the place, the thing that can connect it, and this is the thing that I go back to the very original point, if you put a person or a group of people in charge of it and those people show up over and over again, it's their shared experience. So it's what they're doing. And so then the people relate to the person or the personality on screen. And then that's what's going to help you connect if they go bungee jumping and then go eat a 5-course meal.
100%.
Yeah, I would say that one of the things with keeping it, you were talking about destinations and food and outdoors, and it depends on how big you want that theme to be of the channel. So if the theme is the destination, everything that falls in that destination can be part of that theme. It gets a little bigger than if you're only talking about, food in this same area or only outdoor recreation. But if you build that theme up a little bit, but what we've seen, like from testing and a few things, that if you just started like talking about something totally random that doesn't fit at all, then it would be really odd for your followers to be like, wait, what are they talking about now? So like when we like if you just start a TikTok, and this is what you see a lot of times with people that are just having fun with it, that aren't like creators that got big, or even when I say big, I even mean say it's you got up to like 10,000 followers, but you're seeing a lot of times it'll like just be like, I'm here, like almost what Facebook used to be or Instagram, like here's a picture of my lunch. Like there's some people doing that, and I think they're just having fun with it and everything. But if you want to focus on it like as a DMO, it's like, okay, here we are this area, in here we have great food, we have entertainment, and we have outdoor recreation. And you just have to find the points to that. That could be a couple different people that are the face of the page instead of one. It can be a voice that represents all of that and it's faceless. And we see that attempt at least often with other like destinations that are trying to play on TikTok. There are not a lot that are putting a person's face on a consistent basis. So just finding the niche. It's like Nick and I were sitting yesterday at a restaurant. And we're like, wonder if we should some like have a podcast where we just talk about the meal we ate. Like that's it. Only food, because food plays. It's probably, Nick, would you agree, our most consistent thing that kind of goes even a little higher in views on a consistent basis because everybody eats, right? Not everybody paddleboards. Not everybody likes to even go to the beach, or not everyone likes to go to a concert, but everybody eats, and everyone has an opinion on eating. So the one that's located close to you guys, the taco truck, the food truck, that one is one that did really well, had tons of engagement, but people tell you then where to go next. It's like, oh, you like this? Go here. This is my favorite place. Because again, everybody eats. So food, I think, plays well on TikTok, especially for like if we're talking like a destination.
Yeah, I guess the old adage, dine, shop, stay, still works.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Well, the
that
thing
kind of.
that
Go ahead, Nick.
I'll just add one thing to Andy even saying that we're thinking a podcast. One of the reasons why we thought about having a podcast about, I just said that about food. Hey, don't worry, it's not, it's not coming out next week or anything. That was just a statement that we made. But the reason why we said that is not because we thought we were going to grow a huge audience on a podcast, but we knew we could clip and batch that and have a TikTok channel based on that by just us going back and forth. So we could talk for a half hour and we could end up with 35 TikToks based off of that. So that's, even if we're talking about the power of vertical video, we're taking an audio based thing where we would record ourselves and immediately chop that and put it in there. And that's where we'd see the immediate payoff from that. And then slowly grow up that podcast. Not that that doesn't have value. We'd grow it by making these short form videos with it.
Gotcha. Yeah. To me, that seems like the biggest challenge, right? It's like we're
Right.
talking destinations, but people travel for experiences, right?
Mhm.
So it's hard to like brand a channel for a destination because your destination are the experiences that people want to come and have. Andy, I think you touched on something really, really important. So you were talking about the taco truck, and people are like, oh, you have to go try this. You have to go try this now after they viewed that piece of content. I mean, how important are comments and engaging in the community to try and foster, that kind of engagement within that channel?
Yeah, I think the comments itself for fueling growth of the piece of content is huge. So if you start to get comments early, like that will again kind of be almost like the share that we talked about. But the more comments, the more views. It just rolls really at the same pace. So if you post something and you're not getting any comments, it's going to die off pretty quick. If you're getting comments, we like to engage. It depends on the piece of content. If it's one that's going more, I don't like to use the word viral because I don't consider us making like tons of viral content. But even some that get like a couple 100,000 views, is you start to, the comments are really flowing. So we always like to stay really active in the comments in the first hour or a little couple hours of when we post something. And then if we see something that is like a legit question, we, again, some people have 10 million plus followers on TikTok and they could never even come close to like commenting back or replying. But if you're like have the ability, or someone says, hey, I'm going here, where is this located, like I'll see those comments, and even if it's on a video from 6 months ago and it's a new follower or whatever, I'll reply back to that. So I think it's in good because to talk about social media being both ways, if we're putting the content out, we want to be a resource for that person that's watching the content. So
Yeah, and let them guide your channel. Like,
yeah,
how many content ideas you get out of that, you know?
And we used to
right,
always say, every question is a new blog post, right?
yeah.
And that, that's what we started with way back when, and as we started with social media or social media posts, etc. But now we're going into video, and you made some great points. So I have another couple questions about the comments. So in terms of moving content into people's organic or for you channel, right? Is it the engagement in the content comments? Is it keywords? Is it some sort of audio cues? What drives those videos into a specific person's for you page?
Yeah, well, I'll start with this one, Nick, then I'll let you answer as well. But one of the biggest things that I've seen as a change recently is the search functionality inside of TikTok. Or if you click on a video, the search bar is up at top and it's picking its own keyword that's being found for. So if you're saying the word, like we went to the Mackinac Island Christmas tree lighting and we posted what was it, Nick? A 3-minute video on TikTok from there. And that video now, if you click on it, it will say Mackinac Island in the top. So it's being found for people looking for Mackinac Island. We're putting that in the description. Obviously, that was a pretty easy one to say, hey, we're on Mackinac Island. We're utilizing hashtags, kind of pulling it all together. But the search functionality is getting so big and so good on TikTok that it used to be if you saw a TikTok and you wanted to find it later to show it to somebody, it was impossible.
Right.
Now you go to the search function and it's like it's dialed in. So making sure, I think it's a mix of they're hearing the audio, obviously. They are, if you're doing captions on screen, we almost always are turning captions on. It's not 100% of the time, but usually. And then I we test sometimes, and I know there's creators that don't use hashtags at all. I would say that that's probably the third. I think saying it and putting it in a title or captions is bigger than the hashtag. Just sometimes we'll post with no hashtags, and we're not seeing huge difference on
Interesting.
TikTok. As long as we're saying other things in the voiceover or in the description.
We definitely work on our hashtags, but the idea of a hashtag is a little bit antiquated in the internet. Don't get I am not putting them down. We use them and I think it's very important. But the
Yeah.
reason why I say that is because it used to be the hashtag was the hey, search for this tag that you put into it, and it was kind of left over from like basic coding kind of stuff.
Right.
Now it knows where you are and it knows the words coming out of your mouth. So it is another context clue for the video when it scans through everything and tells you like what you're doing. So just that's kind of where we see it. So all of them, everything, every action you do, every cut you do, everything you show is another searchable thing when they like kind of review it and then put it into the search. All of that is part of it. So just make sure that you're thinking about it that way.
Love it.
Um, and then, Brian, you kind of said a couple of times about how these destinations, how they can feel like they're trying to say so much about everything that it kind of gets a little bit disjointed, especially on like one particular feed.
Yep.
Not to sit here and toot our own horn about it, but I would say that if you're struggling with the idea of what you would do as far as if you're a destination, think about us, like our page, my playground, as Michigan being ours. So you can do this for a city, you could do it for a neighborhood, or you could do it for an entire region. But
Yeah.
think if you look at it, we treat ours like it's one destination, which is Michigan. And so the way that we cover it is by going and repeating places over and over again that are our big things like you got to see Tequamanon Falls in every single season, and then making sure that we're covering some of the stuff as we go that would help people that are there. Like, hey, maybe you didn't know that this place exists where you can grab a quick bite to eat and get going. So we treat ours like it's one destination, and that's what we think that people should be doing inside of each one of their cities as well. And in fact, I'd love to see it because I think it'd be important and it would help us travel as well because we don't know everything in every area. And
Yeah, and that comes down to content planning, knowing your niches, building
Yeah.
out a schedule, and
I think
rinse and repeat.
Exactly. And that lands me on the one of the things that I always think about, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm looking at fellow creators that are inside of an organization, is give them time. Whoever is the creator, if they're creating and they need time. So if anytime you ask a creator inside of an organization, like, hey, how many hours like are you dedicated to edit? And if they work 40 hours a week and they say, hey, I've got 30 hours a week that I film and edit, you'd be like, great job. But if the person's job is like, yeah, I kind of do it on the side, or like, when I do go out and I go, hiking for myself, I'll try to get some clips or something. That's going to be a struggle because you're not going to be able to consistently build that over and over again. So whose ever responsibility is, it might be 10 people's responsibility for 1 hour a week, or it might be one person's responsibility for 30 hours a week. When the question's asked, everybody should know the answer. And I'll give you the example of Andy and I working together. Andy, when we're home, Andy is the one that's planning, organizing, doing everything on the next destination that we're going to, answering emails, calls, that kind of stuff. And I am editing. I'm voiceovering, I'm writing scripts, I'm doing stuff, because my job, if I like to think that I work more than 40 hours a week right now because of everything, but if mine was 40, if I'm not at 37 hours a week making video, that's it. That's the only, I'm not even answering emails. Then we failed as what we're doing. So that's where I see it.
And
Yeah. So
I want to answer one thing, Brian, and bring it back to something you guys recently had in your on our radar newsletter. And this is huge in TikTok and video content overall. So I'm not even going to say TikTok here, just video content overall, photo, anything, is don't ignore what you're most known for as a destination. So don't think, well, we made a video in 2018 about this thing, or this is popular, but we have some content. It's like, no, go there every day and talk about it. Go there once a week. Like, you
Right.
never can go there too much, because you're going to reach a different audience. You're going to have something go off for way more views than you expected. And if you're not, going back to what I said, giving yourself the chance, it's not going to happen. And when I read your guys' blog that talked about that, I thought that was a really good point, because I do think that a destination might be like, well, we do have some content from our by far most famous place. It's like, no, do it more. You don't have enough.
right, and one experience, you could do it multiple ways or multiple times or different seasons. Like, yeah, we hear that all the time. And the old adage I always refer back to when we have this discussion with people is, you dance at the dance with who brung you, right? So people forget about that. And so we promoted that a little bit. We got to promote everything else, but there are multiple ways you could talk about one specific experience, and multiple times, and multiple yeah, there's a whole strategy behind that, but that is an incredible point, and I think that is one of the things, in my personal opinion, that destination marketing organizations sometimes fall flat on, is they do it once and it was okay, right, or good, but
And they're trying, and it's a political game, right? In
right,
a lot of senses, and it takes away from the marketing effort, because we're trying to just please the partners, where that maybe isn't the best thing for the overall marketing strategy. And it's
But
a
I think,
really tough conversation in reality that exists.
yeah, I think we all agree, though, that if there's a place that has something that they're most famous for, that might be what gets any of the four of us to want to go there the first time. And then you're going to stay at hotels, and then you're going to go to restaurants, and then you're going to do all this other stuff, where that needs to be the thing. It's like, what is the thing that can get you most interested to visit the first time? Then you're going to find other things you love. Like, I've found out so much stuff about places where I thought that I knew that I wanted to go do this one thing because I knew it existed, and that part of it was really cool. But then while I was there, I discovered like that there's five other things, or that I want to come back with my family, or whatever that may be. But you have to, like, what is it that gets the attention? And I just thought that was a good point that you guys made. It's like, if if we're like talking TikTok strategy for somebody, um, what is that shiny object you have, and then build that into your plan. Should that have its own piece once a week? once every 2 weeks, whatever that may be. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's why
don't
we
think that
should
you
be
posted
doing
about it once.
And that's why we should be doing TikTok, right? It's kind of that worm on the hook, right? And then we use all of the rest of our content, our related content, our blog content, to 5 things you didn't know, to like expand on that greater destination experience, to really convince people to come and do that number one thing. It's so key.
I think that you just made a great point too on talking, like, let's talk, keep talking destinations and blog posts. Nick said reuse blog posts. How many blog posts are out there that are like 5 things to do this winter in insert destination, 10 things to do? That can be easily 6 pieces of video content. Here's 6 things you need to do. You can either start with the 6 all together and then break them down, or you go, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then number 6 says, here's a recap. I mean, that's a week's worth of content from one simple list that someone made of 5 places to get chicken wings or whatever
Yep.
that may be.
Yep. And that blog is just sitting on their website waiting to be rediscovered, right? So
Yep.
let's repurpose it.
Yeah, and then that goes back to the hope thing too, right? They're hoping somebody finds it organically, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that we were talking about the search function and TikTok getting so good. I mean, I just think that YouTube Shorts it's in its infancy and it's going to be awesome. The
Yep.
the user interface for it right now is horrible. You really can't do anything. You can't select your thumbnail very easily. Like, it's not great, but it has so much power. And we have shorts videos now that are getting views from longer ago because of the search functionality of YouTube putting shorts in search results.
And that is so huge. And I think the other thing just DMOs need to realize is you can make shorts from your old content. And it's so easy from the app to do that. You can breathe some
Yeah.
new life into the content. It's a huge opportunity. Shorts is clunky, and it's very simplistic. But in a way, I do think that's a benefit for a lot of users, because TikTok can be very overwhelming. One question I wanted to throw out there too is like, have you seen a difference in like getting carried away with filters and overlays and texts and gifs all over everything? Is there a magic number? Is there a sweet spot with that? Because sometimes I feel like it's like it's sensory overload on some of the content. Like people are way overthinking it.
Yeah, so for me, the answer is what works for you and the style that you're going for. I wish I could give you the magic number. One thing that I do love is I love getting right to the point at the beginning of the videos. So I'm going to tell them what they're going to see if I'm not already talking about what they're going to see. I'm not going to introduce myself. I'm not going to say, hey guys, hey friends, like this kind of thing. Like I am going, this is it. And in the first frame, I'm showing you what we're talking about. And if you're not, you're one thumb scroll away. And if they don't know who you are, you don't need to reintroduce yourself. And if they know who you are, they're annoyed that they're going to, unless of course you make it your absolute thing where you say the first thing at the beginning of it, like it's Spooky Lake month. Well, then you're setting the stage, right? We know exactly what we're getting when the person introduces themselves that way. So that's my thing, is get to the point, start talking about it. And then this is just a quick thing that I absolutely love to tell people. And Brian, because you said how many cuts, whatever you need to do, you need to be able to speak one full sentence to the camera. Hold down your thumb, say one full sentence, then just turn, record again, keep speaking the next sentence. So you don't need to know everything you're going to say right away. You just turn, change the background a little bit, and everybody is so used to watching jump cuts because they've been watching YouTube and commercials for so long that it feels so natural to them. So if you have a lot of if, ands, of, whats, or buts inside of all of your sentences and you're uncomfortable, speak one sentence. And that's going to be absolutely huge. And then the last part about that is also about the if, ands, whats, or buts. I got decent at doing voiceovers and I started becoming robotic in my own personality and I wasn't speaking it the way that I did. So I purposely started adding Oh, and yes, back into my voiceovers because they didn't hit that personality part of it. So like we recorded a freighter going by and I said, "Oh, and we also saw the like I almost forgot about it." And the secret is I didn't. I recorded it. I knew it was there. Like but I added it in at the end like it was an accident that we actually saw the ferry go by right after. So that's another thing that I see.
And it's almost like we think things need to be so polished,
Right.
right? And like we're used to like agencies or big video companies making us these wow videos and all of this. And in a way, man, like this kind of amateurish, kind of a little like lower scale productions really translate well within these things. So I know people really freak out about that. They're just like, oh, it needs to be so polished or it needs to be so clean. And a lot of times the most jank things, end up doing the best because they're just so authentic, I guess. I hate that word, but it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of people sprinted towards quality, and that quality is important. Audio quality, especially, is important. But everyone sprinted towards quality. They kept buying more and more gear. I mean, as I sit here right now, I've got 2 lights on me just because I have these things. And TikTok has proven that you can do that if that's your style and that you really enjoy it, and people can see that you do it because of its passion. But that's not the reason to start. You don't need the light to start. I mean, in fact, some people say that if you have it, it immediately turns them off because you're looking inauthentic because you're making yourself a broadcaster and not a person experiencing life.
Right,
Totally.
right.
well, I even think about the people that hold their old corded headphones with the little microphone. I mean, there's so many creators that talk like that, hold their microphone, and it's like a thing that became popular on TikTok, but it's everywhere. And you, Nick and I say you can't let yourself feel sad because you think you're going to have a really good piece of content, not perform the way you want it to. So there's times when we're like, this is so sweet. This is the best view. Everything about it seems good, and it will just hurt your feelings. It'll say, nope, here's a small amount of views, and now on to the next thing. And then sometimes it is that raw in the moment piece that goes off. So we were talking about it yesterday when we were in the car. It's like businesses used to spend so much money on one video, and they would post it on, say, Facebook. And if you have a good ad campaign behind it and a good strategy, that's a different story. If you have a way that you're going to distribute it because you don't expect good organic reach. But if you spend a bunch of money thinking that then you're going to have like a huge reach organically across all these platforms, like you're better off to take that money and make a bunch of short content and give yourself more opportunities. And just like we do with some of the stuff that we work with you guys on, it's like here's a library of vertical videos, and then you guys put multiple of those videos into a TikTok campaign and have it optimized to show more of what everyone's performing better. But if you only had one and that one didn't hit, that's all you have.
Yeah, I do think people lose a little bit of a perspective on reach and amplification of these things. And it's, again, as a marketer, as a salesperson, whatever, you're better off having a little bit less quality in terms of production and more amplification and reach, because eventually you're going to, build new audiences, put more people in the funnel, et cetera, right? I mean, you guys all get this, but yeah, that's a great point. And thinking about how you're budgeting and establishing uh, these programs is huge. But you have to think about that distribution just as much as the content you're creating.
Yeah. And when you talk about these like the amplification on TikTok right now, I still think it's from my perspective, and you guys obviously even have more experience than this, but the ad side of it for like a destination, I mean, when you are running ads, I mean, the followers are going up, which once you get to 1,000 followers, you can put links to your website. Like it changes a lot. And it's like a way to get that out there right now that from an outside perspective of seeing things that you guys are doing to amplify some of your partners' TikTok channels, it's the growth is enormous there. And then what you're doing is you're just building that base for more. And I think I mean, we all agree, right? There's clout with following on social media. So if a destination has, you start somewhere, right? So you're starting at zero. But if you've posted 100 times and you still only have, 118 followers versus 10,000 followers, you might be like, oh, this area looks like something I should probably take a look at.
Right. Yeah, we talked about timeline internally. We had this conversation recently about making sure the timeline is loaded before you're going to go out and start to promote. Because you see that, you have that feeling as people see a TikTok and then they go back to the account, and if there's 6 videos, they're like, well, am I going to follow or not? But if there's a whole cache of videos, they're like, oh wow, there's something going on here. I better get in.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I think that when you take when you have a library, if we have a video that does more than average views, we then see an uptick on a bunch of other content. If it leads to new followers, then like some of our most popular videos that maybe were from 6 months ago, like get another jump because they're like, oh, you follow them now. Here's this other stuff. Well, if there is no other stuff, you're not giving yourself that chance at all. So again, you have to start somewhere by posting the first time. But when we get something that gives us 5,000 new followers over like a week period for like 3 weeks, then old content that was popular is like rising with that new group. I mean, just like think about when you follow someone yourself. If you're just like, using TikTok personally and you follow something new, for the next couple of weeks, you're going to see that person, whether it's old content in your For You page of them, or if you go to following, you're just getting served all their content from the last while, unless you follow so many people.
100%. This conversation could go on forever.
Right.
This is,
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's really
incredible,
fun.
man.
I mean, it's my
Yeah.
favorite thing to talk about. Nick and I talk about it all the time. I think that the biggest thing is to have a plan. And Dave, when we saw you a couple weeks ago, one of the things that Nick has in our presentation right now is ideas, thought starters for you. Here's 50 things that you can go do. It's like you can really go make these with no but investment besides time. Which I know that's even sometimes hard for places to give to an employee to make something. But you have to get started. You have to give yourself an opportunity. And I think that one of the biggest things is you have to have a plan of some way. What are you going to talk about? What is your voice? Are you talking as in, let's say destination? So are you always referring to yourself as the name of the city, or are you calling yourself we or I? Like, are you the face and you say I love this, whatever that may be? But to have a
Right.
plan, because I think that will really lead to building the consistency. What can someone expect while they're here? And a big enough destination, I think, has the room to have, let's just 5 faces on their TikTok. This person is the foodie. This person is the adventurer. This person goes to events, and you kind of know which ones you like.
Yeah, I think building out these departments in the next couple of years is going to be the next big push in destination marketing. I think the realization has finally come through that you really need to have, like, Nick was talking about time. You really have to have people in these positions. You got to have the editor, you got to have the creator, you got, and I think it's coming, right? It's not there yet. I mean, there's a couple people that are up here that get it and they're after it right now. But I think in the next couple of years, we're going to see this happen in a lot of organizations. It's going to be
It goes back to that DMO thing, right? Destination marketing organization, then it was destination management organization. And I really do feel it's coming to like destination media organizations where we really start owning that. You can do this stuff yourself. Anybody can develop a plan, like Andy says, and get the time, like Nick says. I mean, it's totally doable. But we need the right people in the right positions. And I would just throw out as well, one thing I've noticed through my coaching is that you can tell the success of anybody's social presence online as to whether or not the person with hands on keyboard or behind the camera or whatever actually is passionate about what it is they're talking about. Like that, like you, I don't, I'm challenged to think that you can fake that, right? Like you need to actually really love your destination, be excited about it, and that translates through the content you create as well. So I think finding the right people for those positions is yeah, I agree with Dave. Like that's the next challenge
Uh,
for DMOs for sure.
It's so true. Giving, if you are giving the person, if you're a DMO and you're giving a person, if they're hired to do that, and you're actually letting them do the job that you think is important and not pulling them in a million directions, and you say, this is your, like, you go make this, grow this is your project. They're going to have more passion behind it than if it's like, well, you need to also be able to do all this other stuff. So I think that that's key.
Awesome. Well,
100%.
it looks like we've been rolling for quite a while now. We got to have a part two, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we'll do, we should release this and people leave comments in the on the video when we release it, and maybe we'll do a part two and answer some questions that people may have. I mean, we covered a lot of ground, but I think there's a lot more ground to be covered for sure. Any last thoughts from Andy or Nick?
I just want to say thanks for having us. I mean, like you said, we saw Dave a few weeks ago. Then he's like, "Hey, we should chat," and I was like, "Absolutely," because it's fun to talk about it. I mean, Nick and I talk to each other all the time, just like you guys do, and but you live in your own world, and we live in our own world of what we're doing on a day to day. So we think it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys inviting us.